Over 50,000 publishers are preaching the good news in this branch territory, which includes Equatorial Guinea.
No, he is proving to you that a lot of women are unfaithful. I applaud this man for keeping evidence, because if he has not kept evidence, we all know how this story would have ended. Even as he kept evidence, see how people are dragging him. We are talking about how one man slept with 400 women. Who is going to talk about the 400 women that slept with one man?
Demographic and Health Survey in Equatorial Guinea 2011. Adolescent fertility. In Equatorial Guinea, adolescent fertility is high. In fact, 43% of girls aged 15 to 19 have already begun their reproductive life. 37% are already mothers and 6% are currently pregnant for the first time. Early fertility is higher among uneducated girls, 74%, than girls with a higher education, 16%. Adolescent fertility varies by region. 32% of girls living in the insular region have already begun their reproductive life, compared to 48% of girls in the continental region. Age at first birth. The median age at first birth is 18.2 years among women aged 25 to 49. The results of the EDSGEI highlight that the median age at first birth increases with the level of education. From 17.4 years for women with no education to 21.0 years for those with a higher level. Age at first union. Nearly 6 out of 10 women, 61%, aged 15 to 49 and 48% of men aged 15 to 49 were in a union at the time of the survey. In Equatorial Guinea, the age at which women enter into a union is quite early. 14% of women aged 25 to 49 were already in a union before reaching the age of 15. Men enter their first union at a much later age than women. Up to the age of 30, more than 50% of men are still single. Age at first sexual intercourse. Half of women aged 25 to 49 had their first sexual intercourse at 16.2 years. On the other hand, for men, the median age at first sexual intercourse is 17.7 years. Urban women begin sexual activity 1 year later than those in rural areas, 16.9 years versus 15.8 years. However, there is not a big difference in the median age at first sexual intercourse between urban men and those in rural areas. Polygamy. Polygamy in Equatorial Guinea is a practice that concerns 17% of women. It is most frequently practiced in the continental region, 19%. Ideal number of children. Men aspire to a larger family than women, 7.0 versus 6.0 children. For all women aged 15 to 49, the average ideal number of children is higher in rural areas than in urban areas, 6.7 versus 5.3. Knowledge, attitudes and behaviors towards HIV, AIDS. Knowledge. In Equatorial Guinea, almost all women and men have heard of AIDS, 99% of women and men. Overall, 57% of women and 61% of men know that using condoms and limiting sexual intercourse to one uninfected sexual partner can reduce the risk of contracting HIV. This knowledge of the two means of HIV prevention is lowest among uneducated women and men, 44% and 39%, respectively. Furthermore, almost half, 49%, of women and 36% of men know that HIV can be transmitted through breastfeeding, and that the risk of transmission from mother to child can be reduced by taking special medications. During pregnancy. Multiple sexual partners. In the 12 months preceding the survey, 15% of women and 41% of men had 2 or more sexual partners. Among them, only 16% of women and 24% of men reported using a condom during their last sexual intercourse. HIV prevalence. The HIV prevalence among the population aged 15 to 49, men and women, is estimated at 6.2%. The prevalence is 8.3% among women and 3.7% among men. In Equatorial Guinea, HIV prevalence is almost twice as high among women and men living in rural areas as among those living in urban areas, 8.0% versus 4.8%. Among men, HIV prevalence decreases with education level from 8.7% among those with no education to 2.2% among those with a higher level. Among women, there is no clear association between HIV prevalence and education level. Prevalence varies by marital status, women in a union breakdown. Divorced or separated women, 12.8%, and widowed women, 27.4%, have a higher prevalence than those in a union, 8.8%. Prevalence is lowest among single women, 4.3%. Sexual violence. Overall, 32% of Equatorial Guinean women have experienced sexual violence at some point and 8% have experienced violence in the past 12 months. Domestic violence. For all non-single women aged 15 to 49. 65% reported experiencing domestic violence, emotional, physical, or sexual. About 8 out of 10 women in a broken relationship, 78%, have been confronted, at some point, with acts of domestic violence. Among women in a union, this proportion is 63%. The rate of this domestic violence is higher among women in the insular region, 71%, than among women in the continental region, 63%. More than half of women, 54%, have been confronted with acts of domestic violence in the last 12 months.
It was a privilege to serve them and to see how Jehovah is using these faithful servants to care for His kingdom work in this part of the world.